is Senator Graham.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This has sort of been a MOX-centric hearing, and I just want to acknowledge I think you're a very good choice to run the Department of Energy, and I want to thank the chairman, chair lady, and the ranking member for the support they've given the MOX program. Senator Landrieu has been unbelievably helpful, and I think you gather that we're concerned about MOX.
I am too.
Okay, I know you're very smart, so you got where we're going on MOX. 34 metric tons of weapons-grade plutonium could result in how many nuclear weapons?
Well, that's a question that can be answered at various levels, but let's just say 9 kilograms is the IAEA significant quantity for plutonium.
So are we talking about hundreds or thousands?
Thousands.
So here's the question for the committee. What is it worth to the world and to the country to take 34 metric tons of weapons-grade plutonium off the market in Russia and the United States? That's the question, because you're talking about thousands of warheads. As to the MOX program, it is in South Carolina. That's correct?
Correct.
Okay. I've been dealing with this for well over a decade, and so have you. Do you have an analysis showing the $30 billion life cycle cost of the MOX program?
Yes, the report is now undergoing interagency comment, and we expect to have that completed and responded to by the end of this month.
Thank you. Now, how much would it cost to actually build a facility? That's not $30 billion, is it? $30 billion is the life cycle cost for all 3 buildings, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It's about $7 billion, is that correct? The MOX program.
We would say the to-go cost for the building itself is $6 to $7 billion.
Okay.
Yeah.
60% of the construction is complete, right?
By some counting, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This committee last year, thanks to the chairman and the ranking member, dedicated over $403 million to continue construction. The administration has put it in cold standby. Is that your plan?
That's the proposal is that, again, as we know, the question is whether the budget can support this, so we thought that we should pause to evaluate options.
But my point is that this committee told you to build the MOX program. We didn't tell you to study some other alternative. Is
that is our FY15 proposal.
Well, I'll submit some questions along those lines. I only got 2 minutes left. The bottom line here is that the MOX program is part of an agreement with the Russians. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, sir. Okay.
So we've told the Russians that we're going to MOX our plutonium by turning it into commercial-grade fuel to be burned in a variety of light water-type reactors. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. My point is that I want to make sure that we don't break our agreement with the Russians. I want to make sure that the people of South Carolina are not left holding the bag, because there is no alternative to MOXing that's viable, that can meet the time periods required, and that's cheaper. Do you really honestly believe there is a viable alternative to MOX that will allow the disposition to go ahead sooner or on time and be cheaper?
There may be, but as we've discussed, all other alternatives require other discussions.
What would be some other alternatives?
Well, as I said earlier, the agreement that was reached with the Russians in the 15 years ago included MOX and immobilization.
So where are you going to put this stuff when you immobilize it?
As I said, there are other issues to be addressed.
There is no plan. There is no viable plan to dispose of 34 metric tons of plutonium. There is nobody going to receive this in an immobilized state. The Russians have agreed to MOX as the disposition plan 2 years ago. So I don't know where this is coming from, and I don't think it's coming from this secretary, who's a very fine man. This is a major decision for this committee to address. We're about to blow a chance to get thousands of nuclear warhead material off the market forever. You're breaking faith Do you agree with me that if you do this, states in the future are going to be very reluctant to deal with the Department of Energy, that if after 60% of a program is complete, you put it in standby, you ignore the directions of Congress, and try to come up with an alternative when 60% of the program is complete, and you change the game 60% of the way down to the field? Don't you think that would be a wet blanket over future dealings between states and the Department of Energy?
Well, we are certainly committed to moving the plutonium out of South Carolina.
I'm committed to the deal. I'm committed to the deal that you made with South Carolina. I'm committed to getting this stuff off the market and finishing a program that's 60% complete that the nation needs. What is it worth to take thousands of nuclear weapons off the table in the world in which we live in? It's worth a lot, and we can do this a lot less than $30 billion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.